the beauty of God. The expectation that whatever I couldn't do in my own thinking, like we all hit a stumbling block, like how could the rich, that's a stumbling block. Jesus is letting us know wherever we find a stumbling block, just know this, with God, there is no block. He's saying like all of that I said is very impossible, but with God, all things are possible. And that's really the beauty that got a lot of us here today. What got a lot of us here today is the thought and the truth that we know no matter how hard my life has been, no matter what's going on right now, no matter the questions I have no answers for, no matter the problems I have solutions for, I know that with God, all things are possible. Like if I could just align myself with God, what I now see as impossible immediately becomes possible. Like that's the beauty that has us in church this morning. Like even though I got some issues, you got some issues, everybody listening got some issues, we know that there is a God that has answers that will make the issue we see go away and release answers that we know we need. Like God makes what we see impossible possible. He's the God that makes what seems impossible possible. And that's really what got the rich man there that day. Because there is some questions we have that only Jesus has the answer for. But he went seeking because he understood that if I can get to Jesus, what I have no answer for, he will. Like I have all these possessions, I have all these things, I have a lot going for me, but there's only one thing I can't guarantee. There's only one thing that I cannot affirm, and that's what it takes to have eternal life.
So Brian, and we are here to continue our deeper dive from Sunday's message.
Yes, sir.
And as we are continuing our message series, Kingdom Currency, man, a question that, I mean, honest Christians will honestly admit that, I don't know how many times I've asked this question, but there have been several. Jesus, are you even listening? Like right. I'm praying, I'm asking for stuff, but what you're sending doesn't seem to match up. What you're putting in my bag doesn't look like it matches the situations in my life. And we're just trying to get some understanding and learning how to align ourselves with his priority, right? I think that's what we really want to do, be more aligned with his priority. What he sees as important is what I see. One way that happens, and you mentioned this on Sunday, and then I think we kind of skirted on it on Tuesday, is something that gets slept on majorly, right? In church culture, but just in culture in general. As much as we love it, though, we sleep on like the journey, like the stuff that happens in the middle. We're so fast to want to get to a destination or get to the goal, the end result. We put so much value in that that we sleep on the middle. But there's so much value in what's in the middle, right? And I believe that God honors seekers. So let's start this conversation just building up the value of what it means to be a seeker and seeking and continuing to seek God, seek his understanding.
Yeah. And I know we kind of chatted about this a little bit before, and I think a lot of times, and I kind of wanted to go in a different direction, right? Because it's like we know, right, and it's exciting, and I believe people have heard before the fact that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey and those things. But I think that the other side of it that may not be as attractive to you,
Mm-hmm.
but it should be,
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that really your journey is what inspires others.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
Your path, and a lot of times the difficulty of it,
Right.
right? It absolutely is what inspires others.
Mm-hmm.
And even with that being said, to someone wondering like, man, what's in my bag? Why is this in my bag? Because I see a lot of people, they're like, man, God, I believe God has called me to the nations.
Right.
And then they start to go through experiences that can connect you with the nations,
Mm-hmm.
and they question what they're going through.
Right.
And it's like, well, you thought you was just going to show up with a testimony
Right,
without
right.
like an actual
Mhm.
test,
Mhm.
right? So it's like, hey, I like to say it like this, right? And I used to say this for myself, and it really helped me through a lot of challenging seasons in my life.
Mhm.
Is I didn't necessarily see them as challenges; I saw them as a new audience. Like
Okay.
every
Mhm.
challenge I go through is another audience I can connect with.
Okay. Got it.
If I go through a financial challenge, then I have the
Mhm.
ability to connect with an audience that's facing
Mhm.
financial problems. If I go
Mhm.
through a health challenge, then I have the ability to connect with an audience that's dealing with health challenges.
Mhm.
And you can divide it up. And it was a way for me to see God through what oftentimes we don't want to go through.
Yeah.
Is to say, like, I really truly believe that God has called me to influence or reach the world. And
Mhm.
then it's like, man, I start seeing things that it's like, well, God, how am I going to make it with this challenge? How am I going to make it with this thing in front of me? And then I have to really see it from heaven's perspective, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times we want to just speak truth, but we don't want to be convicted by the truth that we speak.
Right.
But in order for you to truly
Mhm.
speak from a place of conviction, you have to have lived it,
Right.
have felt it, have smelt it, have experienced it, right? There's things that go beyond beautiful words, right? It's
Mhm.
like your words are beautiful, but I'm not connecting with the heart of what you were saying. A
Mhm.
lot of times the heart's not connecting because you're repeating somebody else's words, right? It
Mhm.
wasn't really your journey.
Right.
And so a lot of times it's like it's hard, right, when you're going through. But I would say, man, just think about it. Every challenge, every diverse challenge, it's like, man, this time it was this time it was that time it was this. I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, there's a lot of audiences you'll be able to reach, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of people you'll be able to honestly connect with, because you're not speaking from what you heard, but from what you had to live through. One of the things I say a lot of times is go through with your eyes wide open,
Right.
right? Like
That's the part.
keep your
That's the
eyes
part.
open,
Right.
right? Go through. Don't try to dismiss a season that God
Mhm.
has you in. Go
Mhm.
through with your eyes wide open,
Mhm.
because, man, yes, we know we have journeys, but the most incredible things about them is how our journeys and the places we go help us connect with people,
Mhm.
help us preach the gospel, help us not just know it, but become the gospel that we preach.
Yeah.
And so it's like, man, if for not for, and like I say, sometimes I just kind of try to shy away when people are like, man, I'm not supposed to have it, supposed to go through it, but it's like, man, are you really seeing what God's doing with that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. All of us have a journey. I mean, if you live
Yeah.
in life, you're experiencing something. There's difficulties that come with life. You've talked about before. Too often, we're just trying to get out of the situation. We're trying to escape it. That we miss the important things that could happen. One of the
Yeah.
points, or the point from Sunday's message, was the beauty of Jesus. And one of the things that connects us, if not the thing that connects us so much to Jesus and his life, is what happened in between Christmas and Easter, right?
Yeah.
It's the things that we saw, you said we saw God living,
Yeah.
that makes it relatable for us.
Yeah.
And so I think I just see it being so valuable for people to really find ways to slow down the escape route
Yeah.
and really be able to filter through life and find value in where they are.
Yeah.
But that's challenging, right?
Yeah.
Because of the pressure of life, that's challenging.
Yeah.
What can you say? What can we say to people or person to encourage them to? And we're not talking about you're not creating a challenge in order to say you overcame, but actually looking through your life with a lens that what I'm experiencing is meaningful and there's value here for others and really and for you too,
Yeah.
right?
I would say just understanding that God does reward your seeking.
Yeah.
And like I say, you can get so caught up in getting out that you think that God's waiting for you to get out before he blesses you.
Right.
Right. You can
Right.
get so
But
you
and
know,
that's because culture has trained us for that, right? The reward is after you study. We really don't reward the studying. We reward when you get the A. Like
exactly.
that's the reward. The reward is we train, and then you get the trophy. So we really in culture we
Yeah.
have put an exclamation point behind end results.
Yeah.
And we really don't talk about the middle
Yeah.
in our day-to-day life context.
Yeah.
But we do because we love movies.
Yeah.
We love stories. And no movie would be good if we just saw the beginning and the end.
Right.
Right? We value the middle in those cases.
But I absolutely say, yeah, man, absolutely. Finding peace going through is a direct result of realizing that you serve a God that doesn't wait for you to get through in order to love you, in order to provide for you. It's like, why am I in a hurry when I have a God that will love me through it?
Right.
And that's the part, like I say, it's completely counter to culture.
Right.
Because culture is all about like not only arriving but being successful once you get there.
Right.
Right. It's like no one waits to take a picture of 8th place. Right.
Right.
So you finished the race, but no one really cared that you did.
Right.
But your family. You know what I'm saying? But even they gonna wait to celebrate you after. You know what I'm saying? Let's just get home. We'll talk about how good you did. But right now, you're not on that pedestal.
Yeah.
But that is not how God deals with us. Matter of fact, that's something that we have to constantly remind ourselves, that God rewards those who diligently seek him. I mean, the Bible tells us that, man, you have to believe that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Like, God is such a good God in that way. And that's just one of the things that makes him beautiful.
Yeah.
That he's like, hey, you know what? And I was telling them, we were in one of the little financial literacy. I keep trying to stop saying little, but we were in one of the financial literacy classes before service, and it was funny to me because it's like you can see people trying to process, and we got to a point, and it was kind of comical, right? But we had to realize it because some people that reached a crossroad where it's like, man, like it sounds like I done made some bad decisions. It sounds like I done did some things that I might have to hit a reset button, aka bankruptcy. Right. Like it's really bad. Like I might have to give back that car and just face the penalty of whatever that means to my credit, and they're like, well, how am I supposed to move forward with bad credit? Right. And I was like trying to get them to see, like, man, or maybe that's the best place you could be.
Right.
Right. The best place you might need to be is if the only way you get blessed is if God blesses you.
Yeah.
But one thing I can promise you, God doesn't check with Experian to see what he's going to bless you with.
Right.
And I'm just saying that to say we're so used to there being this approval process in between what we receive and what we do, that we even think that God checks Experian to see your credit rating to determine what he's going to bless you with.
Yeah.
And God's like, I'm not checking Experian to determine what I'm going to bless you with. And I'm like, maybe in this season, you need to be in a season to where only thing you have is what God provided. Because here's what I know: the blessings of the Lord maketh one rich and added no sorrow with it. If you have a lot of sorrow with things you've labeled as blessings, it may not have come from God.
Right.
And so you got to ask yourself, how do I get back on track? Well, getting back on track could be a very slow process if you're trying to maintain what the world calls good en route.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And there are people in the room, so we can get some feedback, right, from this. Man, I reflect over my life, and actually the most peaceful or satisfying moments were in the moment when I said, okay, I'm done trying to do this. Yeah. Like there's so much peace and satisfaction that came when you stopped struggling. Yeah. Right. Even if it was in the eyes of some a regression, you knew the fight that you were putting up to maintain or hold on to whatever it is you're holding on to.
That I would say this is what I mean by applying that. Like, man, I'm about to have a thing. It's going to look like I went straight backwards.
Right.
This is what I know. God, you're going to grow my audience through it. Like, because there's some people that are going to have to know that God will love you, although you're making decisions to men that look like you went backwards.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, You just have to see it through a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God, this is going to be a great comeback story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you got to understand that everything about you is to show forth his glory, right? And so it's like you just got to see it through a different lens. And you got to be like, you know what? This is about to really look like I took a whole bunch of steps backwards.
Right.
But all it's really going to do is connect you with other people that have to go down that same path. Like, God needs somebody who's carrying him to go down paths so that people can see that, man, there's a difference going through something with God and without God. Right. But we want to avoid paths that create the ability for us to even be separate. Right. You know, and it's anyway.
That's good. That's good. One of the things I'm seeing now is the difference between, like, people really seeing what's really valuable.
Yeah.
You've talked about in the past how we have to be aware of using the same methods that the enemy can use. Like, I can't make the prize a car because anybody can get a car.
You want to do this right now, Pastor?
I just that's where we're at.
This is a deeper dive. You know, and so it's like, oh well, I would. Pastor Mark keeps trying to pull out Sunday's message, here. Right?
I'm not,
but I'm just gonna say it, right? What are some things that we do, right? Just speak towards that. Is we love to use debt to avoid the maturing process God's calling us into. And so it's like, man, you go get that car because you have the available credit to do so. And so you go get the car, and now you look like you've progressed with God, when truly you use debt to skip a maturing process. And eventually the real you gonna show up, because all debt is a license to pretend. Right. And so now it's like you
wait, can you say that a different way? I know we've heard that is a license to pretend. Let's say it a different way. Like, what else is it? What else is it?
Say it a different
yes,
way?
sir.
Do you have one?
No,
I felt like that was clear. But I'm just
I'm just the point guard. I'm just a point guard. That's all I do.
If you're in a different way, you can for sure speak.
Okay, so you said so. Debt is a license to pretend, but you've also, and I'm gonna have to paraphrase because you're the one who said it.
Yeah.
But it's you also say that debt gives us the opportunity to, like, and how you say it, like,
fabricate progress.
There we go. That's what I'm looking for.
But of course, in this tone for this series is to understand that, why did Jesus put this in your bag? He put it in your bag because there was growth in you that needed to happen.
Right.
But then what most Christians do, and a lot of them do, is when they see what's in their bag, because they have the ability in the world's eyes to progress through a system called debt, they go ahead and say, bump the maturing process God is calling me into. I'm going to go ahead and get this car. Right. Because why? You're calling blessed the same thing the world calls blessed.
Right.
And so it's like you're wanting to present yourself as blessed. And the problem is you're blessed because you have a Father living on the inside of you who cares about you. And he cares about you above the thing that you're driving. And it kind of goes back to week 1, to where money gives you two things. It can do two things. It can create the identity you walk in and the environment you live in. And that is why it is such a big subject to God, because you can fabricate good with it.
Right.
And a lot of believers are fabricating good.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. The unbelievers know you use debt to get it too. Right. And so they're like, boss, like, you keep saying that God's doing things in your life. Honestly.
Yeah. I'm doing the same thing in
I'm doing the same thing in my life.
Right. And it ends up not being satisfying to those who need it.
It's not satisfying.
Man. You know what I just thought of? Like Jesus and the fig tree. Like, there's no fruit on it. It's leafy.
Listen, you know, we're going to talk about this too, right?
There's no fruit.
And this is now you just all over it. I know you're pulling, and I love it. Okay, I love it. There we go. But here's the thing.
Thank you, man. We in the bag. We digging in the bag, one way or another.
Because at the end of the day, like, we're all searching.
But you do have liberty to not say whatever you don't want to say. You're free to not. You're free to not disclose anything that you don't want to disclose, but at
that.
the same time,
In the strangest way, I appreciate the statement. I appreciate the statement in the strangest way. It felt satisfying.
I'm not intentionally trying to.
I would say this, right, is if there's anything I wouldn't want anybody to. How much time we have? Oh, we're done. Wait,
No, we're good.
Late?
We're good.
What happened here? We started late.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Oh. But but yes, if there's anything I would want people to just get out of this is don't ignore what God is placing in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
It may mean that you have to lose what this world calls good to really walk in what God has called good. And that process, don't see it as a negative thing. Don't see it as backwards. Understand that God doesn't need the world's methods of progress in order to progress you. And what I mean by that, debt. Right. What I mean by that, good credit. What do I mean by that? Like, man, I was just sitting back yesterday reflecting over things that I've experienced this year that even if I had the money to do it, it wouldn't be wise to spend it. Right? It wouldn't be wise for me to spend it, but I was blessed with it. And I'm saying that to say, like, that's the story of our lives. That's what that is the great, incredible gift of being a believer is, and being a son and daughter of God. That's what the benefit is, that you can live a life that you didn't qualify for.
Right.
You can live a life that you didn't work for. And I believe that there's many believers, it's enough of striving. Finally accept that that's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
And watch God satisfy you. And I'm not just it is happening. And I'm saying this because I promise you the truth. I will tell you the truth. If it was rough out here in these streets, I would tell you. But if it was good out here in these streets, I would tell you too. It's good out here in these streets.
Yeah.
Like, it is really good. I know people who have finally decided to put their trust in God. And they have been living lives that are beyond their expectation. And I'm trying to tell you, it didn't take the time you think it took. It just took an honest, sincere, heartfelt decision inside of them to say, you know what? I'm finally gonna live the life I know I've been called to live. Like, I'm actually going to do what I know. And the freedom you feel, the joy you feel, the peace you feel, it is unexplainable. Unexplainable. I'm just going through examples that wouldn't hurt people's feelings, but I'm just saying, like, it's real. It is really real that God will satisfy your every need. He will truly do it.
Can you share an example, and then we'll let you know if it hurt anybody's feelings?
Well, I mean, I know numbers hurt certain people's feelings.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give an example though. So man, and I love to use examples that are off kilter. What I mean by that, like things that people figure God don't care about, that you find out once you really say, you know what, God, you do it.
Yeah.
That He does care about. Man, I'm just like, man. So I'm gonna use. We went on. Me and Pastor Rashida. We went on our her 40th birthday, and she wanted to have a celebration and all that type of stuff. She wanted to go on a trip. She said she wanted to think, those other type of stuff. And so I said, okay, cool. In doing that, I was like, man, God, one thing about, you guys hear me say all the time, like I've subscribed to a life of favor. Like, if I don't see favor, I don't go. Right? Because, man, favor is not what I like. I'm trying to find a way to explain. Like, it's like favor isn't something that is good. Favor is something that I need at this point in my life. Like, and what I mean by need is I'm saying like, man, like I live a life of faith. If God isn't showing up, then the moment is too expensive for me. I like it's like I cannot afford not to see God. And if that means that whatever that means, you know, it just it is what it is. Right. But if like I will. So anyway, let me just give the example. And so I'm praying about where to go. Some people are like, why would you pray where to go? Because, man, God, where's there going to be favor? I got to go where the favor's at.
Right.
Like, I got to go where the favor's at, you know, and God identified a place. And I was like, okay, we'll go there. And Rashida will tell you, and I'm saying ask her because I'm going to tell you what, I'm tell you what I'm about to say. And some people are like, he just saying that. He don't really mean that. Oh, no, I mean this. Right? And so we go, we get to the hotel, and Rashida already knows at this point. Brian's going to go up to that front desk. He's going to ask them for favor. And if they don't give us favor, we going to leave. Because he going to feel like this ain't it. Yeah. So a lot of times she be like, you want me to get out the car? You want me to wait in the car? Like, how you want me to do this?
Right.
You know, like, how you want me to do this? You know, and I was like, nah, babe, man, I believe where God wants us to be. You know, and I'm using vacation just to show, because a lot of people would say, like, why would God even care, man? Just go where you want to go. I can't afford to go where I want to go. I have to go where God wants me to go.
Yeah.
And if you practice this, it becomes your way of life. And so we go, and I walk into the hotel, and the lady at the counter, she's doing her thing, and you got to be patient. You know, a lot of people be pushy. You know, I noticed the desk was a little lady. She was standing there too long, but our like, you know, someone eyeing up the speed of the lines.
Yeah.
Well, she was eyeing up the speed of the lines. I happened to be in the line that was the fastest. No surprise. She was in the line a little slower. She kind of gave us the nod, like, y'all seen I was standing here longer, right? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you know what, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in a rush. If you want favor, you got the people you dealing with, man. You just want them to be cool, man. You can't be walking up in there demanding things. I'm looking for favor,
right?
So you know, man, I tip the men at the door coming in. You know, all you looking for favor. Finally being patient. Get to the front. Tell the lady, hey, Mr. Poe. I say, hey, how you doing? Great hotel, man. It's beautiful. Y'all really taking care of people in here. You got people be in a rush, man. You can't be in a rush, man. The lady, she was like, yeah, we got you guys, we got you guys here. She says, for a couple nights. I look at her, I said, we'll see. And since she says, okay. Like, is there something special you celebrate? I said, well, my wife, it's her birthday. We came down here. I said, but we're really looking for some favors, special. And I love using the word favor because it's different.
Right.
That it just has like this, you know God. You believe in that Bible, don't you? Favor is different. And so it's just a different tone. Right. And so
use the language.
It's a different language. And so I was like, yeah, and she was like, well, okay. She says, your room's not ready. I said, oh, that's no problem. I said, do you have any upgrades available? I said, we want to know if there's any upgrades available. She said, I think we do. She was like, but we got there. Y'all know normal hotel check-in times around like 4:00 or something like that, right? We were there probably like 10:30 in the morning. Because you got to be there early if you're looking for favor, right? You know what I'm saying? You can't show up late looking for favor. And so, we was there. I was like, no, we'll just go get something to eat.
Right.
And we'll come back over. We haven't had breakfast yet. She said, oh, thank you. Right? We ain't push her. You know what I'm saying? Normally this is when people get pushy,
Right.
Go over there. Let me speed up the thing. We go back. And she said, oh, I got your keys ready for you. I said, okay, thank you. I said, is this an upgrade? She said, "It sure is."
Here you go.
The way she said it sure is, I knew it sure was.
Yeah. There it is.
Me and Rashida get to the room. That door opened up. That door opened up. I said, "My God." My God.
Yeah.
You know, we walk around, we sit down on Rashida's loving it. Not gonna lie, I got a little nervous. Because she was loving it too much.
Okay.
You know, and that's the thing about when favor gets you places. Baby, I'm gonna need you to soak it all up. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Long story short, I'm looking around. I'm like, what in the world? And so I was like, man, how much does this room cost? I looked this room up. This room costs $3,500 a night to stay in.
Thank you, favor. That's what they say. Yeah.
I said, Rashida, you want to stay some extra nights? How long can we let this ride out at the rate we booked at? You know what I'm saying? Long story short, I'm just simply saying that and I know sometimes you say things and people wonder like, what you really mean? What's behind that? That's what I mean. You know, it wouldn't be wise for us to spend $3,500 a night on a room. It just wouldn't. I don't know. Like that. I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is we were there. We experienced it. Favor brought us there. And I know people be hearing, they call them, you know, I tell people some Christian cliches are true. Just because it's cliche don't mean it wasn't true.
Right.
That God favor, right? God will provide for you in things that you didn't have money to buy.
Right.
Like that would not be anything we would have ever booked. You know, and I don't even know, you know, I'm not gonna put limitations on God. I don't know. When that would ever be okay. I'm just saying it definitely wouldn't have been nothing that happened then. But I know it's where God wanted us to be. And where God wanted us to experience. And that's the favor we're talking about.
Right.
To where you live a life that's beyond just beyond what you could ever expect.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll share another side of it, right? I'm sharing this side of it, but I'll share another side. And I was actually sharing this with somebody the other day. And this is like on another side. Like this is on the, like when we was in a very struggling season financially in our life. And I remember I wasn't making a lot of money at all. like I'd be seeing what some people complain about. I'm like, man, you blessed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And but I remember God just working on my heart to understand what I'm really living now. And my father was always, man, he loved to just pay for people's food and bless people and that type of thing. And I remember I was going through a season where it just was like, I knew like Satan was trying to work on me, right? Trying to get me to be prideful and try to get me to think in ways that really aren't my natural way. But I could tell there was an attack there. And so I was just struggling, you know, to try to limit God's flow in my life through the amount of money in my bank account. But I knew he was trying to get me to like see that as like, that's God. Like God's not really with you. You see how much money you have? And I'm like, it's stupid. But he was trying to get me to subscribe to that way of thinking. I'm saying all this to say that God told me literally to sit down, and he was like, add up all the meals you didn't pay for this year. Add up all the stuff, like just literally had me adding these things up. And I didn't have to finish the exercise.
Right.
before I realized what God was trying to show me.
Yeah.
And he said, Brian, look at this. Even if you had the money, would it have been wise for you to spend it that way? Because I mean, my dad was, he would pay for meals at Ruth Chris. I mean, $65 steak. Ain't no way, I'm not making, you know, I'm not supersizing meals at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's where I'm at.
Right.
You know, I'm like, well, how much is there a discount on the number one if I get water instead of the high C orange?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to get the fried discount. Because I want there to be a discount on the fries because I bought the Big Mac. Like, you should get a discount for the amount of items you buy. I see that's why it's called the package. Can I?
You're trying to work it.
I'm just trying to eat and get home.
Yeah.
Because I bought a house in Wesley Chapel because it was cheaper out there. But then there's gas.
Right.
And then you gotta pay for oil changes. And then your tires start to wear out from all the driving. Like, this all the expenses I didn't add up, right? And so I'm like, why is my budget jacked up? Because I didn't add up none of these numbers. Then I was driving down the toll road, and then I realized, God dog it, right? You know what I'm saying? On the way out there, I didn't realize I passed 3 tolls. You know what I'm saying? And in my mind, it was 75 cents a toll, but 75 cents. That's 75 cents going 75. That's $1.50, $1.50 a day, and I do this every day. So that's $80 for me. Then if Rashida decides to go to church too, that's $160 a month in tolls. I'm like, God, I can't even go to church, but I work at the church.
It ain't adding up.
Listen, I was like, Lord,
it's not adding up.
We know not what we do sometimes. You know
That's
what I'm saying?
Right.
Man, I was like, none of the math was mathing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was driving mad. I'm thinking my tires getting worn down. When is this road paid for? And they're going to stop charging me from tolls, right? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So I was seeing if I can get a discount on the only thing that was flexible in my mind at that point, which is food.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm mad. Rashida say, if Rashida even hinted, grocery store. My heart. Baby, they say don't go hungry. Are you hungry? You know what I'm saying?
Don't go hungry.
Let's say if you walk in the grocery store hungry, you don't make wise decisions. You know what I'm saying? I'm
yeah.
She come home. I'm even still healing. She can tell you that I still have a little trauma from grocery bags. No.
Check the receipts.
Listen, Rashida would come home with a grocery bag when we first got married. I would be nervous. Like, I would open up the bag like just nervous. Just nervous, man. I still got trauma today. Like, sometimes she'll come home with bags. I'll be like,
dang.
I see a grocery bag. I see, like, she'll be having multiple. I'll be like,
yeah.
Like, you know, like, I was trying to figure out, like, is we going through toilet paper that fast? Like, it's... I just knew, God,
yeah,
you got to do something. You know, but oh yeah, you're right. What time is this? Is y'all fault? It's 10:49. But I knew in that season it was a war for my heart. It was a war for my heart, and there were so many things that God was telling me to practically do to fight against the war. And some of them things were just add up what you're getting blessed with. You know, the opportunities you see, you have to see them through a different filter. All these types of things. And, you know, I thank God, you know, for that moment, those seasons, those chapters. And the truth of the matter is, what I've learned is those filters actually never go away. And I think that's the beauty that a lot of people don't realize is God's always fighting to make sure money never becomes your master. And so it's even in this chapter of my life, although the struggle isn't there, the same filter is. Right. Like, I still have to count my blessings. essence,
Mm-hmm.
because money can never be my master.
Right.
Like without favor, I can't live the life I live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not been called to provide for myself. God provides for me.
Right.
Right. If God doesn't do it, I don't get to live it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's I mean, some of the people even seen, you know, I'm finna say something about this music because it's annoying me right now, but I'm chill. They can turn it down.
They got it.
Thank you. But at the same time, right, you know, I think this year with my daughter, right, and stuff that, like, wow, I sat there on the trip that we were blessed to go on, where she flew in private to these plays and got to see him in New York, and just had an incredible life-changing experience that I didn't pay for. And I'm sitting there just looking at it, and I'm like, God, like, even if I had the money, it wouldn't be smart, right? But this is my reality.
Got it.
And the truth of the matter is, it's not that this just started happening. It's been happening. But it's like I one of the greatest things is that I had to get over in that season is I didn't have to buy it in order for me to enjoy it. Like, I had to get over that. And there's a lot of people that struggle with that. People are blessing them, but they don't even see it for the blessing that it is, because the money didn't come from their bank account to do it.
Right.
What I'm trying to get you to see is, I'm still enjoying things money didn't come from my bank account to do.
Right.
Get over it. You don't have to have it to enjoy it. You didn't have to buy it to have, like, that's not going to ever change.
Yeah.
It's like they're waiting for a day to where it's like, even I want to buy my blessings. Well, that's pride.
Yeah.
You think God's going to bring you to that level?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, I had to swallow that all then. Maybe I didn't pay for this meal, but I don't see it as less than because I didn't. And I know a lot of people right now that God is blessing them with things that they don't even count as a blessing, because they're like, it's like they have an asterisk on it. If it didn't come out my bank account. Like, if I wasn't making enough money to buy it myself, like, God, I'm waiting for you to give me enough money for me to buy it myself and do it myself. And I'm like, I don't think you realize that what you were asking God to do is to make you the master of the blessings he's providing.
Right.
And he's not going to do it. Just get over it. You are subscribing to a life that you will enjoy things you don't have the money to provide.
Yeah.
And that is the blessing.
Right.
That is the blessing. And man, I knew the guy was working every ounce of what could have been a prideful bone out of my body, right? Like, no, Brian. Like, you know, couldn't put new tires on my car, right? I'm like, these are real stories. I know sometimes it seems like I'm making it up, but driving back and forth, I realized, man, I got to put tires on my car. God dog it, right? They told me these tires was going to last, you know,
right,
3 years. But then I bought a house 45 minutes outside the city because I wanted more space. So I had to go out there to buy something that looked good, that actually wasn't good, because it was just a look. Here's the problem. Nobody would even come visit us in that big old house, right? You know what I'm saying? Because we lived too far and they couldn't afford the gas to even come visit us, right? So I remember one time I had company one time at that house. That was because the men of the church were doing something that was past my house. And so they remember that bowling trip past the Gambit? That was one of the happiest days of my life. Like, because the men had decided, I don't know why they went to a bowling alley that was past my house, but they did. And I was like, listen, y'all got to stop.
Right.
Y'all got to stop, because this is my only chance to have a company.
This is a shot.
You know what I'm saying? I bought this house with the dreams of having company. But little knows to me, I wasn't going to have enough money for furniture. So listen, let me help y'all out. I threw, Shiva Jones is in here, right? What did I throw? A carpet party, right? I called it a carpet party. Because when you come to the party, you're going to be sitting on the carpet.
Yeah.
Just, we ain't have no furniture.
Right.
I'm saying these things, these are real things. And all of the, like, y'all want me to,
I think they're enjoying it.
All the while,
we're here with you.
God is getting any ounce of pride out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you like, listen, and my God, like, obviously, all those things are put in my bag and bring it back around. I didn't know all the things to put in my bag.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But they were.
Right.
And I had to live through them.
Mm-hmm.
I like, man, like all the little stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I remember, man, like I used to pray and hope. You know, they be sending like them little mailers in your like to your house. They'd be like, you know, win $10,000, come drive our car. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be the one.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was test driving everybody's car. Like, man, let me be the one today. You know what I'm saying? Like, God, if this is the way, God.
Mm-hmm.
And I was waiting on God to give me money.
Mm-hmm.
That was never coming. It was never coming.
Mm-hmm.
And God was waiting on me to accept the fact that it ain't got to be in my bank account for me to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, he wanted me to live a life that depended upon his favor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when I finally said yes to that, things moved forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how I got the stuff I got today, but I do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how these experiences, how I have them, but I have them.
Mm-hmm.
And God's been faithful.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can say.
That's good.
But you know what the truth is? That's all he wants me to say.
That's good.
One last thing. I'm gonna finish up the tire thing. And my dad, man, which this is why it's so important that you surround yourself. Like, you can't be in a season where you need favor and surround yourself with people who have poor relationships with God.
Mm-hmm.
No, you have to surround yourself with people who have incredible relationships with God,
Mm-hmm.
and they're generous,
Mm-hmm.
because you need them.
Yeah.
You need to be surrounded by people who can hear from God when you're going through those seasons.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for the circle I had, ability to hear from God,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and this, I can start crying over this, but we wouldn't have made it.
Mm-hmm.
But because we were surrounded by people who had relationships with God, could hear from God, had generous hearts, they didn't even know when they were doing things that just
Right.
changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Changed everything.
Mm.
You know, I still finished this. I was sitting there like, it was just so much that I like. So my dad, he was like, Brian, I'm finna come to your house. And I said, okay, Dad. And so he comes out to the house, and my car is literally sitting in the driveway because I couldn't afford the oil change. But I was driving an Audi, what led to there being blockages in the whole oil system. And I knew if I drove the car one more time, like,
Mm-hmm.
that could be it for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up there. He looked at the car. He said, Brian, take it to the shop. He didn't ask me nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell him nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Took it to the shop. It cost $4,000 to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he paid for it. He didn't pay for it and was like, you owe me, and that's what I'm saying. You gotta surround yourself. Like, you can't afford to be around the type of folks.
Mm-hmm.
No. And he looked at the tires. He said, you need tires too, huh? I said, yeah. He put tires on the car. And always want to give shouts out to my wife at these moments.
Mm-hmm.
Because she did not, none of these things that she uses as an opportunity to see me as less than.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, no. Like, and that's in between. I don't know what was going through her head, but I know never out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Did she use any of these moments as opportunities to make it seem like I was less than?
Yeah.
And I say that to the wives, like, man, leave him alone. Trust me, he already thinking it. You ain't got to say nothing.
Yeah. That's true.
A good man was born with the desire to provide.
Right.
You ain't gotta tell him that's his job. He already knows that. He's probably fighting as hard as he possibly knows how to do so. But man, I realized then the guy was breaking down every wall, man, and just not letting certain things take seed and grow in my life, and I had to accept it. That this is the way it's gonna be. This is the way it's gonna be. Like, there's things we won't experience unless God blesses us with it. And we both agreed to that. There's places we won't go unless God blesses us. So we both agreed to that. Like, there's just, if favor don't get us there, we don't go. And that's all right. Right? I'll stop there.
Good news. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
What was that?
What a day. What a moment. It's a terrific Thursday. And we want you to enjoy it all day as you go through it knowing that we love you. God loves you. Keep attending and keep being most blessed. We'll see you soon. Yeah.